Fears are mounting of a military call-up. Could conscription really return to the UK? As you might expect, tons of interaction with this story today on Twitter. I think we all know the answer to that question, don't we? Even if they wanted to reintroduce conscription in the United Kingdom, they'd have a very big problem, wouldn't they? Because most of the people now living there have no loyalty to the bloody place. As I've said many times before, as soon as your big toenail touches the sand in Dover, you don't instantly become a tea-sipping, tweed suit-wearing dandy who loves watching Coronation Street and talking about the cricket. Vast swathes of the population of the UK have got about as much loyalty to it as Osama had to the United States of America, which is to say, none at all. So the first thing we'll do is laugh at some of the comments that people made, stating the obvious, and then we'll walk through the story just for a crack, shall we? Because I'm going to love reading about how the British government intends to convince millions of angry fighting-age men from distant lands that they should fight for king and country when they only moved into a council house in Slough 3 weeks ago. Right then, brilliant story, love this. There's about as much chance of the British government being able to carry out a conscription plan in this day and age as there is of the Virgin Mary marching into my bedroom and offering me a topless hand shandy. So let's have a read, shall we? Fears are mounting of a military call-up. Could conscription really return? And amusingly, the writers of the story go to prove my point, because look who brought us this story from metro.co.uk. From Beryl Naz Hassan and Gegana Krastyevya. Yeah, and I'm sure they've got a deep emotional connection to the UK as well, haven't they? Try and get Beryl and Gergana to fight in a war. See how that goes, and then get back to us, eh? As the clouds of geopolitical tension gather over Britain and Russia, whispers of war are growing louder. For now, that's all it is, just whispers. So here is the reassuring message that we all need. Don't panic. Top generals are warning that the UK's military is much too small to handle such a conflict on its own. Many Brits grew up hearing their grandparents' stories about life during WW2 and how they got drafted. And with Russia's invasion of Ukraine soon entering its third year and Putin's latest warning that Western-supplied long-range missiles would be considered an act of war, many are worried that they will be called upon to serve their country. Here's all you need to know about conscription. Yeah, so basically it's a clickbait headline and just trying to drive some clicks on the social media arm. I don't think there's any serious plans from the Home Office to make this happen. And the reason why is because they know they couldn't pull it off. They'd have a harder job pulling that off than my granny has pulling me granddad off. And he hasn't had a fatty on for 11 years. There are currently no conscription laws on the books, and the UK has only used conscription twice in modern times. And that involves single men aged 16 to 40 being called up unless they were ministers or single parents. Yeah, it's just a fluff piece. There isn't any serious talk about conscription. But the amusing part about this was the response to the comments on social media. Nobody is going to fight and die for Starmer, Lammy and Zelensky. Yeah, yes, David, very astute. Mr. Vance here says, send your kids to die for Zelensky. Second words off, obviously. Edward Dutton, the English working class are not going to fight for an elite that has spent 30 years openly betraying them. And Carl Benjamin responded, I guess they really expect us to fight for this regime against Russia. No, ladies and gentlemen, they don't expect you to fight against the regime. They know for a fact, at this point, disillusionment from what was formerly the backbone of the British Armed Forces, i.e. poor working class white lads from, as Elvis Costello said, the Mersey, the Thames and the Tyne.
The boys from the Mersey and the Thames and the Tyne.
They're not going to join up. They're not. I love the military. If it wasn't for political machinations, whereby by my fifth tour I felt as if the British government was more interested in preserving the well-being of the Taliban than they were me and my battle brothers on the ground in Afghanistan and Iraq, I would have done a career. You know, I did nearly 10 years. You don't often go past 6 or 7 without pushing forwards to do a full career. I loved the military. But I joined up in 1999. The world, alas, was a different and much, much better place, if you're under any illusions there. Back in the England of the 1990s, immigration was low, heavily vetted people. I remember kids from foreign shores coming into my school as a young teenager in 91, 92, 93. Maybe 3 or 4 foreign kids in my year at school. All the parents were middle-class professionals. We lived in a high-trust, happy, low-crime society. And then for 30 years, with the floodgates opening under the most evil of demagogues, Tony Blair, we've spent that time swamping the nation with 10 million waifs and strays from all four corners of the globe. Nobody with eyes to see, ears to hear, and a hole in their arse thinks that the single biggest issue assailing the UK is not immigration. It has poisoned everything. And again, that isn't to say it's bad. I've just spent 5 minutes elucidating that point. In the early 90s, when it was properly managed in small numbers, tens of thousands a year, and everybody was a middle-class professional who had skills we needed, it was a good thing. But importing fighting-age, high testosterone young men without vetting them and with no skills has destroyed the United Kingdom. It is the single biggest issue in my eyes, and I firmly believe it's the single biggest issue in the eyes of almost every voter that pays attention to the world. Crime is higher because of immigration. The healthcare service is in ruins because of immigration. You can't get a council house because of immigration. The schools are all full, the roads are all knackered, you can't get a doctor's or a dentist because of immigration. No nation can absorb as many people in the last 20 as the United Kingdom have without it massively taxing their infrastructure, and more importantly than that, the way of life, the community, the sense of home and hearth and community and fellowship. It's all gone. Now there's no trust. Nobody talks to the neighbours. Everybody hates each other. You've got Indians and Pakistanis and Bangladeshis knifing each other on the streets of Nottingham and Birmingham, bringing 1,000-year-old intertribal ethnic feuds to the formerly green hills of England. It's been an unmitigated disaster, and when you throw that into the mix, why would the government even think conscription would ever work? The people you've imported have no connection to this country. They don't care where they go. They would have happily went to Canada or Norway or Denmark or the United States or Australia as long as they were getting a free lunch and a nice house to live in. They have no loyalty to king and country, and they couldn't give a monkey's fart. And because you've spent years emboldening and empowering them and giving all of our money to them while spitting in our faces, the working classes who hail from generations of patriotic English men and women, and British men and women indeed, if we want to take it outside England, they all feel the same. We no longer have any allegiance to the British government and the people that run it and the establishment. And at this point, honestly, it's quite bizarre how it affects you, this sense of community, because if a foreign military power or a terrorist organisation was to attack the House of Lords or the Houses of Parliament or something, it would mortify me. Probably even still now, far more so a decade or two ago. But if, for example, a plumber from Leeds called Dave decided to commit some atrocity against the House of Lords, again, I'll never advocate such things because I'm not a lunatic, but I reserve the right to laugh my arse off. Yes, I would find it humorous at this point that one of the eternally put upon working class lads who hails from 50 generations of British stock was to feel as despondent and abused by the people that run the nation as some sort of Bronze Age theocratic fascist scrabbling out from the foothills of Afghanistan. That would amuse me no end. You have no chance of conscripting a military in this day and age. The people that should want to fight for the UK definitely won't, and the people that you've imported in the last 30 years have no real interest, and why should they? Because feeling a sense of home and kinship takes decades to engender into people. Generally, you're born with it, and you get it from your ancestors. Not only will the recent imports not fight, I would think they were stupid if they agreed to do it, because they're mercenaries. So, you're done. The locals don't want to do it, the imports don't want to do it. The Russians and the Chinese have now got us over a barrel and they can do as they please because they know that Western society has completely collapsed because it's been ran by self-loathing, sparrow-born soy boys who are as averse to the colours of the Union Jack and the Stars and Stripes and the Canadian maple leaf as vampires are to holy water and garlic naans. Naans? Don't know why I said that. Very, very intolerant, xenophobic vampires that don't like garlic, and they like it even less when it's baked into weird foreign bread. All right? Easy. Anyway, that's going to have to do it for the day, ladies and gentlemen. I've got to go to work. Unfortunately, I can't stream this weekend because my missus' family, there's a health emergency and we have to drive all the way back to LA. However, I might try and do a roaming live stream whilst fighting off the tramps and feral youths on the mean streets of Los Angeles. So if that happens, I'll set it up. All right. Other than that, probably see you on Monday, but we'll see. Have a fantastic weekend. Keep your chins up and I'll see you then. Take it easy. Toodle pip. Cheers.